President commits to solving the problems of the farming community. Students opposed the participation of Deputy Minister Palitha Tevara Piruma at a ceremony at the Sabaragamuwa University. The increase in water bills is due to the increase in VAT, a statement from Subject Minister Rauf Hakim. The JVP launches a protest against VAT.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo with me, Florine Rajendran.
I'm Chaturang Hapwarach. Now, Newsfirst has swept the Raigam Tellies 2015. So far, Newsfirst has won 6 awards, including Best English Anchor and English Presenter.
We will have a comprehensive report on the bulletin tonight, but before that, here's a look at your top story.
The National Agribusiness Development Program was held at the Buddhi Mandape Hall in Polonnaruwa today under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
This program is being implemented as a special project of the President's office, and the foremost objective of this program is to strengthen the economy of the rural community. Under the program, 1,218 farmers were presented with agricultural equipment worth 34 million rupees.
The market price and the standards have become the most serious issues. Some of the systems that were introduced with political agendas created tense situations between the state sector, the private sector and the farmers. There were issues among them, and at times the private sector acted aggressively over the farmers. There was a distance between the farmer and the private sector. However, when you take into account the latest technology, the international markets and the standards, the world has agreed on state policies. For the country to develop the state sector, the private sector as well as the public have to work together.
Newsfirst sweeps the Raigam Tellies 2015. Newsfirst Joel Fabian Outskoon won the award for the Best English News Anchor. Newsfirst Stephanie Lazarus won the award for the Best English Presenter. Vasanta Pradeep Masingage of Newsfirst won the Best Singular News Anchor Award. Ranjani Rajaratnam Rajakrishna won the award for the Best Tamil News Presenter.
Today, a man who embodies that indomitable human spirit that can overcome the impossible. It is a great pleasure and honor for us to have the 11th President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, with us here today.
Thank you, Daniel.
Newsfirst Nadika Vijayveera won a special jury award for the exclusive interview with late Dr. Abdul Kalam, the former President of India. The interview was hosted by Group Director of the Capital Maharaj Organization Limited, Shivan Daniel.
Yesterday, I have met Sri Lanka President.
Dr. Kalam, I'm sure I speak certainly for Newsfirst and for all Sri Lankans when I say it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have you here with us. I certainly hope that we get this opportunity to have you here in Sri Lanka once again.
Newsfirst Ashen Taraka won the award for Best News Reporter for his report on Umaoya. Janasuna, aired on Srisa TV, won the award for the Best Reality Program.
17 days after the tragic landslide in the Samasura mountain in Aranayaka, the body of one of those missing was discovered. This brings the total bodies recovered from the site to 28. Kegol District Secretary Abhay Vikramavanasuriya said that 100 persons are still unaccounted for.
A backhoe loader was called in this morning for the renovation of a canal that was damaged following the landslide. The body was discovered during the excavation. However, it was decomposed beyond recognition. Intellectuals from the Department of Geology of the University of Peradeniya visited the location of the landslide at the Samasara mountain in Aranayaka. It's clear when you look at this area. The starting area is not a natural forest, but a tea estate created after deforestation. It is clear that a change in the usage of land has caused this landslide. 74 families from Kumbrugama Daranyagala have been evacuated owing to a landslide risk following fissions and ruptures being reported from the Mavatanda mountain. Locals said that a landslide occurred on the mountain 7 years ago, which caused extensive damage to property. This is the landslide back in 2007. I got these documents certified after the landslide because we did not receive lands to relocate. Do not let us face another landslide that may occur in another 4 to 5 years. Following the 2007 landslide, the displaced sought temporary refuge at a school in Udappula and were returned to the location where a landslide risk persists as they were not given alternate lands to relocate. After the recent downpour, several locals had inspected the mountain and witnessed fissions. Later, officials from the National Building Research Organization had inspected the site and declared it a high-risk zone, prompting the evacuation of the locals. A total of 320 persons from 74 families are currently living in the local temple inside a shed used for sermons, which is only 20 feet by 30 feet.
We ask you to provide us with a proper place to live in immediately.
The operation to remove flood debris and garbage from Kulunnawa following the floods entered its third day today. The operation is carried out by the Sri Lanka Army, the Disaster Management Centre, together with the Ministry of Provincial Councils and local government. The Sri Lanka Army said that 90% of the debris has been removed.
Still from news at home, Deputy Minister Palitha Tevara Peruma arrived at the Sabaragama University today to declare open a cultural centre. However, he did not receive the greeting he was hoping for from the students.
The newly constructed Cultural Centre of the Sabaragama University was to be declared open today by Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Waima Development and Cultural Affairs, Palitha Tevara Peruma. However, university students gathered to obstruct his path into the university premises. The students who engaged in a demonstration stated that the opening of a cultural centre should not take prominence, adding that there are other issues that need to be resolved within the university. The Deputy Minister then took steps to climb onto the roof of his vehicle and engage in discussions with the students. Vice Chancellor of the Sabaragama University, Professor Chandana P. Udavatta, also arrived at the location.
We have engaged in discussions with these children. Even yesterday we held a discussion. We discussed the day before yesterday and also the first, and we resolved the issues they have. The Vice Chancellor spoke to me about the problems you face, what issue can be resolved, what issues can't be resolved, and when solutions will be given. I will be able to inform you after engaging in discussions with the subject minister. Else I will take your concerns to the Prime Minister and the President.
The students' protest lasted for several hours, and then as a result, the Deputy Minister departed from the location without declaring open the cultural centre.
Politicians cannot be allowed to enter the premises. This was what they constantly repeated. They claim that this cultural centre was created after whitewashing an old building. They claim that there are no facilities in this centre. I said, okay, then let's inspect it and investigate it. Still they refused to allow me to enter. They said that I don't have the right to enter. So I got onto the roof of my vehicle and said, let's discuss. But they didn't have any problem to state. What they kept saying was that they cannot allow a politician to enter. This was a politically motivated move. They did not have any other objective.
Minister of City Planning and Water Supply Rauf Hakim says that VAT has already been added to the water bill.
The minister attended an event at the Katugastoda branch office of the Water Supplies and Drainage Board today. The minister answered several questions that were raised by journalists regarding the increase of the water bill.
We have not received any orders from the Treasury to remove VAT from the water bills. The Treasury is of the stance that the VAT should be added to the water bill. Therefore, we have not made any amendments. But one thing should be made clear. We have not made an amendment to the cost for over 4 years. The consumer can reap that benefit as well. Therefore, the way I see, this small increase of VAT is not a serious issue. There will be a slight increase in the water bill as a result of VAT. We have already enacted it.
The Minister of Power and Renewable Energy says that they have decided to not collect the electricity fees from individuals whose houses were completely destroyed due to the recent disaster situation experienced in the country.
Issuing a media release, the ministry noted that this step has been taken in line with a special relief program launched for electricity consumers affected by the inclement weather. In addition, a grace period of 2 months has been given to pay off electricity bills for the months of May and June for those who have been affected by flooding and landslides. The ministry has also decided to provide new electricity connections for houses affected by the floods free of charge. Free electricity connections will also be issued to residents who have been forced to relocate due to the flooding and the landslides. The program is scheduled to commence from the 18th of this month from the Puttalam district.
Meanwhile, the JVP engaged in a protest march today against the increase of the value-added tax.
The protest march commenced opposite the technical junction in Colombo 10. A group, including leader of the JVP, Anru Kumar Dissanayake, took part in the protest march. The group arrived opposite the Fort railway station and held a demonstration there.
Our economy is crumbling. What has happened now? There is no money for the government to survive. They have suppressed the state institutions and entangled the country in a mound of debt. What are they going to do now? They are burdening the public by obtaining loans again. What did they tell when VAT was imposed? That it will not affect the essential goods. When we do a blood test, VAT is imposed. When we do a urine test, VAT is imposed there as well. Those are essential things. They did not just impose tax on the essential goods, they also imposed high taxes on vehicles. So what sort of an economy has this government created? Work on the proposed housing project in Gurupokuna Hambantota commenced today with Minister of Housing and Construction Sajid Premadasa laying the foundation stone for the project. The housing scheme will consist 29 houses.
This model village is being constructed under the 2016 77 National Housing Program. Sewing machines were also distributed to several low-income families to assist in self-employment.
A group of hypocrites are stating that we don't engage in good governance. I ask them to go before a mirror and witness for themselves who engaged in good governance and who acted against its principles. I can state without any fear that current President Maithripala Sirisena is a good king and that the former president was a sadistic king. During the previous administration, massive loans were obtained at exorbitant rates. However, this money was not used to bring an income to the country. In the end, it was our children who became debtors. It was the previous administration that pawned the lives of our unborn children for their own comfort.
A group of UPFA members convened a media briefing today.
A statue of Lord Buddha had been taken to the temple trees by force from the National Museum. We had placed this statue in a special cabin and had a large padlock on it. It was kept safe. But they have taken this by force, saying that they were from the temple trees. They took the statue and damaged it. The FCID should look into this. These are national crimes. The FCID should focus on such acts. There is no investigation whatsoever regarding this. They came in, opened the padlock by force, not taking into consideration the objection of the director of the museum, and they took it away. They've destroyed it, and there is no investigation against it. Is this a government? Army media spokesperson Brigadier Jaina Jayavida stated that a number of army soldiers who were attached to the security detail of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa were removed this evening. The brigadier added that all soldiers attached to the former president's security detail will be recalled by tomorrow. Personnel of the Special Task Force and the police officers who have received special training in terms of providing protection to VIPs will have taken over responsibilities of the former president's security detail.
The elephant is a symbol closely tied to Sri Lankan culture and the traditions. One cannot think of a perahera without remembering these magnificent beasts. However, a number of issues have cropped up with regard to the usage of elephants in such traditional acts.
It is an elephant that is vested with the sacred task of carrying the casket at a perahera, and a price tag can never be placed on this act. The relationship between elephants and humans date back to the times of the kings in Sri Lankan history. However, according to the Diyavadana Nilame, who is also the chairperson of the Domesticated Elephant Owners Association, a scarcity of domesticated elephants in the country has had an adverse impact on the perahera culture.
Only a limited number of domesticated elephants are available for the peraheras in the country. There are only 3 tuskers that meet the criteria to carry the sacred relics.
I do not accept that. Based on the information obtained by the Department of Wildlife, there are 140 such pachyderms in the country.
Although data records of a total of 150 elephants, around 50 of them have to be dropped during the perahera season because of their rut actions. In addition, when we disregard the elephants who are ill, there will be only around 100. If the peraheras of the temple of the sacred tooth relic, Kataragama Devalaya and Devinuwara Devalaya fall during the same period, we will face a shortage of elephants.
Yet, due to reasons such as failure to disclose legal ownership and shortcomings in permits, many domesticated elephants were detained under court orders in the recent past. According to the Department of Wildlife, 16 elephants detained under court orders are being housed at the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage, while another 19 have been moved to the Udavalave Elephant Transit Home. Recently, the Colombo Chief Magistrate issued an order to temporarily release 15 elephant calves to their original owners until the 31st of August. Following a request made by the Attorney General's Department on the 26th of May, the Colombo High Court suspended the order. When the case was taken up before the Colombo Chief Magistrate's Court today, the magistrate postponed the hearing until the 15th of July, as a case is being taken up in the High Court as well.
There were matters like forging permits. That is wrong. Action must be taken to protect wildlife. There needs to be rules and regulations. We must also think about providing domesticated elephants to society when there is a scarcity of domesticated elephants.
Owners of domesticated elephants will never make an attempt to increase the domesticated elephant population. The reason is because female elephants or the cows remain pregnant for a period of 22 months. After they give birth, for 3 years they must be left to feed their young with milk. This is not a profitable process. There is a scarcity of domesticated elephants because they are used for tourism purposes rather than cultural purposes.
Environmentalists and animal rights organizations worked together to stop the bullock cart races during the last Sinhala New Year. However, they failed to put a stop to the horse races in Nuwara. We challenge them to stop the horse races in Nuwara next year.
Not only in temples, but even the judges are involved. The law is the same for everyone. If there needs to be a parade, we will have the trained elephants under the Director General of Wildlife to be used with mahouts. We request the courts to expedite the process of finding out who is right and who is wrong, so that the elephants can be returned to those found not to have committed any wrong. There will be no shortage. We will train 25 pachyderms in the future, and they will be provided for the peraheras. We will issue elephants to temples that will take stepos to safeguard these animals. However, an annual permit will be issued like for vehicles.
Crime Watch is up next.
A woman who had gone to bathe in the Valave River was found dead on Wednesday evening, and today a suspect connected to the incident was brought to the location for investigations. The body of the woman was discovered among the rocks in the river following a joint search operation launched by the police and the locals. The victim was a 46-year-old from Sitagala, Balangoda. The suspect in custody is suffering from a speech impediment, and a translator was brought in to assist in recording a statement from him. The body of a 21-year-old married woman was exhumed today at a location close to her house, located in the 11th settlement of the Central Camp area in Ampara. The victim's stepmother had filed a missing persons complaint with police over her disappearance. During investigation, the stepmother had admitted to murdering her stepdaughter. Police said that the woman was remanded after being produced before court.
Now, 7 members of the National Freedom Front, including its leader Vimal Weerawansa, appeared before the Colombo Magistrates Court today. The individuals appeared in court today over the recent incident where a protest was held by them opposite the UN compound in Colombo, causing a disturbance to the public.
The protest was held on the 25th of February this year against the arrival of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Prince Zaid Rad Al Hussein, to the island. Presenting facts to court, the Cinnamon Gardens police said that since sufficient evidence exists against the suspects, steps will be taken to file charges against them in the near future. As a result, Colombo Chief Magistrate Gihan Pilapitia ordered that the case be postponed until the 25th of November. Among the suspects is actor Roger Seniviratne, who failed to appear before courts today. As a result, courts issued a warrant against Roger Seniviratne. Subsequent to the warrant being issued, Roger Seniviratne appeared in court and by way of motion filed by his lawyer, sought the recalling of the warrant. Accordingly, the warrant was recalled.
The failed Doppler weather radar installation for the Department of Meteorology under the previous government has led to more controversy in the country. The system was expected to provide the Met Department with the latest weather data.
Yesterday in Anuradhapura, journalists raised questions over Doppler radar system from Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe, who served as the former Minister of Disaster Management. It was reported in the newspapers that COPE would get involved. The equipment was brought down in 2011 and they were installed in 2013. I was not the Minister of Disaster Management at that time. I stepped away in 2010. The equipment was brought into the country in 2011. The CCB began assembling the system in 2013. That is a state institution, and I believe that COPE has taken a decision to probe into it. According to the statement made by Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe, Mahinda Amaravira was in charge of the ministry during the period in question. The same question was posed to him at a private media briefing today.
The
Doppler radar for the Department of Meteorology was brought here in 2007. It is yet to be installed. However, it cannot be done. We attempted to install it. However, there are issues surrounding the system which cropped up since its purchase. There were no transport facilities to transport it to the location. The equipment was subject to a certain level of decay even at that time. When this was looked into, the company in question was shut down. Now measures have been taken to install it. Japan has agreed to provide 2 such machines based on the request made by the government. Then the issues will be resolved.
The
ministers are pointing the finger at each other. The situation is such that they are accusing each other. This has led to a situation where we are deprived of the opportunity to save many lives. A large number of persons died. A commission must be appointed to probe whether the ministers or the officials were the root cause of this corrupt deal. This needs to be probed and those accountable must be punished.
The National Sustainable Development Engagement Platform was launched in Colombo today.
Representatives from United Nations, private sector, youth representatives and politicians were present at the launch. The inaugural Transformation Dialogue was also held at the event.
It is time to ask about how we evaluate government. In the past we talked about GDP increases, inflation rates coming down. people advertise these indicators. But were we becoming a better society? Were we living better lives? And what does it mean to do that? Those are the questions. What does it mean to live in a better way for us and for our children? I think we would be living better lives when the social harassment of women on the street stops. To lead better lives, public transport must improve.
On the 25th of September 2015, countries adopted a set of goals to end poverty, protect the planet and ensure prosperity for all as part of a new sustainable development agenda. Each goal has specific targets to be achieved over the next 15 years. Attention was drawn towards achieving these goals, also known as SDGs, at the event.
Things are evolving so much that countries are attempting in various different ways to meet from their conceptual framework and their religion, their thinking, their culture to become happy. So the objective of all of this is to, in the life that we spend on this planet, to be happy. And that has sort of a transgenerational equation.
What is shown here, we are talking about the human beings. I didn't see anyone speaking the planet and the natural disasters, how we are created by ourselves. We can't alone live alone. We have to live with the animal, bird, the whole ecological system, water, and everything. It has link. Human beings have to survive through these sectors. But the animal, the planet, water, nature, birds does not want our assistance. Last week Cabinet approved the Sustainable Act, and it will be within this coming few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, it will come into the Parliament for the debate and will be approved also. Except the President and the Honourable Prime Minister, I must say, took a big initiative in this. And separate ministry in the whole of Asian Pacific sectors is the first ministry that created also.
Before we wrap up, Arjuna Ranatunga, the Minister of Ports and Shipping, has written to the President and the Prime Minister calling on them to look into the irregularities that had taken place at Sri Lanka cricket. In the letter, he requests for the financial administration of SLC to be streamlined and for a special observation committee to be appointed. He also calls for the expose made by the Sunday Leader newspaper into fraud and corruption be probed by a committee. Arjuna Ranatunga notes that the expose details of fraud, corruption and other irregularities that are alleged to have taken place at Sri Lanka cricket. He points out that if the EXCO members of SLC are directly involved in such acts, it brings disrepute to cricket in Sri Lanka. Minister Arjuna Ranatunga also notes that the irregularities at SLC election in January and the low qualifications of those elected have led to the sport of cricket in Sri Lanka into the brink of destruction.
Well, with that, we wrap up primetime news here at News First. For the News First team, I am Florine Rajendran.
I'm Chaturang Hapwarachi. Take care.